"You're not coming to our wedding. If you come, it will be the end of our relationship." My oldest son and future daughter-in-law agreed with a nod of their heads. My heart sank as I sensed how much they despised me. What exactly had I done to them? Wasn't I just acting like a normal mother to them? What was the matter with me? What made them despise me so much? They must really hate me, saying not to come to their wedding. But I can't come up with anything I did wrong. My husband too, of course. I'm unable to forgive my son. How could he act in this manner after I took such good care of him over the years? I can't believe he treats his mother this way. I need to make him understand that his demeanors are wrong. He will be punished if he disrespects his mother. Mary, a 55-year-old housewife, is my name. I have 2 sons. Our eldest son, David, now works for a company in Tokyo and is a fairly high-class elite man. Tom, our second son, on the other hand, has always been quiet and prefers tedious work, so he works at a manufacturing company in his hometown. When they were younger, the brothers were close, but as they grew, David began to dislike Tom. He would publicly humiliate Tom and openly harass him at school. Even after I scolded David, his attitude towards Tom did not change. Just recently, David has decided to get married. He will be married to a woman who works for the same company. "She said that she would like to meet you guys, so I decided to plan a dinner." I was relieved to receive such a call because it meant I could finally send him off. David didn't want to be around Tom, and Tom himself said, "That would be better for me, too." And the day we promised to meet came. They had reserved a private room at a rather pricey restaurant. I was distracted by the unfamiliar place, but when I entered the room, David and a strong-looking woman were already seated. "Hey, Mom and Dad, you guys are late." "I'm sorry, we got lost as we have never been here before." "Don't embarrass me so much." My heart ached at his words, but David is always like that, so I decided not to worry. We took our seats and ate our delicious meal while listening to their conversation. "She pays attention to everything I say. She thinks a lot about our future together. She's a wonderful person. If I had someone like her by my side much earlier, I would have succeeded in much more things. She is a perfectionist who excels at everything she does. She is so different from you guys, Mom and Dad." David was happily talking about his fiancée. Cheerfully, she was telling him to stop. David appeared to be obsessed with her, and when he speaks, all he can do is praise her or himself. When I asked him about how they met, he said, "You should know how good she is instead of such a boring story like that." Even though we had only met, I felt like he was trying to make her look good to us as much as possible, which made me very uncomfortable. My husband was also uneasy, and I was relieved that I had not brought Tom with us. "I can say this again and again, but she is different from you guys. Please don't be mean to her after we get married. Give her some respect." "I don't need you to tell me that, because I wouldn't do that." "Ha, let's see. You guys have prioritized Tom over me my whole life. With that in mind, I can't trust that you guys wouldn't do anything to her." David's words stopped me in my tracks. He is saying whatever he wants, and we were worried about Tom because David harassed him so much. Tom has been troubled by David's harassment since he was a child, and it is natural for a person to try to alleviate their child's stress. When I asked David why, he simply stated, "Because I didn't like Tom." So I couldn't ever solve the problem. I didn't know David would take that situation as us loving Tom more than him. However, I did not want to make a scene. so I couldn't object to David's words. The tense dinner concluded without incident, but I knew that all the issues hadn't been resolved. "Aren't you guys getting old? Don't worry, we'll take care of you too." David had made the decision on his own that he would live with us after their marriage. He appeared to have obtained the consent from his fiancée. She was saying, "You have another son who will not be dependent forever, don't you? I must take care of him." I felt really uneasy about that. Tom does live with us, but he does so because he actively cares for us, not because he is spoiled by us. David and his family, on the other hand, moved into our house without our permission, took over our room, and began acting as if they were the owners. "Why don't you go weed the garden, Tom?" "Sorry, but I have to leave for work." "You don't have a job. Go ahead and do it yourself." "What? You're so arrogant." David's persistent nudging of Tom has gotten stronger. I was amused to see Tom approach the situation with more maturity. But things were not that simple. David and his family were attempting to force Tom and us out of the house without telling us. It was late at night after my husband and Tom had both gone to bed. I was thirsty and went to get some water. The living room light was turned on. "Hey, when will this house be ours?" "Just a little more time. We need concrete plans, so there is no interruptions. I want to renovate the house after we get rid of the others. This house looks old." David chuckles at her words. I agree. "I can't believe it. I can't believe they are thinking about doing this. I told my husband and Tom right away. It would be a disaster if we did not act immediately." Tom spoke up while my husband and I were unsure what to do. "Mom, I'll take care of it. I have a strategy." Tom's words were comforting, but the plan he had given me demanded patience more than anything else. However, if Tom's way works, David and his fiancée will be out of here for good. That is why my husband and I agreed to follow Tom's plan. There were many issues, but life went on as usual, and David and his fiancée's wedding date was set. They decided to have their wedding at a very nice nearby wedding hall. We thought having it here in the countryside would not be so great, but the location we saw was quite nice. It's a little pricey, but with the money we're making, it's doable. I was annoyed to see David smile at me, but I kept my mouth shut. David continued to poke at Tom, but thanks to Tom's mature demeanor, it didn't appear to be too painful. The couple waved me over when the wedding date was set. When I went to see them with my husband and Tom, we were told something outrageous. "Please, don't come to our wedding. Our relationship will end if you come." The words astounded me. I eventually regained my composure and asked David, "Are you sure? Why so suddenly?" "I'm terrified of you guys. I don't want these people at my wedding." It was impossible not to feel angry when she fake cried in response to my question. "I'm telling you again, if you come, our relationship is done. Isn't that how you want it anyways? Aren't I your horrible son? Unlike my younger brother who can't do anything wrong." David pointed at Tom. Tom appeared to be at loss for words. I finally lost patience when I heard him saying that. "That's it, David. You've been bullying Tom all this time. Why are you acting this way? You guys are siblings. Stop treating him that way." David and his wife turned their attention to me as I said this. "You can't say anything about me. You were deceived by Tom's fake acts and spoiled him. You have always treated me so differently. That's because you bully your little brother. Isn't that just an excuse? You couldn't help yourself because Tom was so cute." "That is not true." David refused to speak to me, despite my repeated assurances that I did not favor Tom. Why is he not listening to me? First and foremost, it became like this because of his own actions. Why doesn't he try to think about any of it? David is my son, even if he's a jerk. I felt obligated to look after him. However, this is no longer the case. I made the decision to abandon my son at this point. Okay, then I'm not going to the wedding. I stated that I was no longer concerned. Tom and my husband both gave me wide eyes, but David and the others seemed content. But you are certain about this? You will be sorry. No, we will not be sorry. The best weddings are those with no distractions. They were cheering. Our hearts, on the other hand, were sad. We didn't need to go to a wedding when we weren't invited. Finally, our family decided not to attend the wedding. We weren't even given an invitation, so even if we went, we probably couldn't go in anyways. David seemed content the entire time, but they had no idea what this would entail. It was amusing to think about the strategy Tom had come up with. The new married couple got through the wedding without incident, but they still stayed at our house. They recently changed jobs to be closer to the house, so they were busy packing some things and moving to the new office. They returned home from work on the first day after transferring offices. When they came home, they called Tom in a panic. "Tom, what's going on?" They questioned Tom. When I asked them what had happened, they told me briefly. On their first day at work, as they were being shown around the company, they saw Tom, who was not supposed to be there. When the boss, who was showing them around, and spotted Tom, he bowed and said, "Thank you for all your help." He told them that Tom was the president of one of the company's clients. The couple, who had thought Tom was just a factory worker, could not hide their surprise at his words. In fact, Tom had been working diligently at the factory since he started working there. His hard work had been recognized by the president who ran the factory. Tom's unique ideas were indispensable for running the factory, and Tom had been admired by those around him ever since he started working there. Thanks to him, the factory began to improve its performance. Before long, it had become a factory that many companies were relying on. But then the president fell ill. Tom was worried about the president and always went to visit him on his days off. Seeing Tom's dedication to the factory and to others, the president appointed him as the next president. Tom was humbled at the time, saying, "I can't do that." But the president's determination was not easily swayed. With the support and encouragement of those around him, Tom successfully rose to the position of president. The factory's performance grew even more after that. Tom had always been well-liked, was highly trusted by his employees, and it seemed that he had good sense as a president. The factory has now grown into one that is relied upon by companies all over Japan. Tom's face is known even by large companies in Tokyo. Today, Tom was visiting the company to have a discussion with the client. That was all. However, the couple who did not think Tom was in such a good position were not happy that he was treated in such a way. "Of course, you cheated. You've always been like that." David grabbed Tom. "If you had told us, we wouldn't have behaved like that. Why didn't you tell us?" David's wife broke down in tears on the spot. What an ironic situation. "I made it to the top by my abilities, that's all. So why are you so angry?" Tom said this with a nonchalant expression on his face. David's anger seemed to be aroused by this expression, and he began to yell at him. "Don't act like that to me!" But Tom spoke calmly to David. "I want you to listen to something else. I think it's the most important thing for you." Somehow we were able to quiet David and his wife, and got them to sit down. Tom, who had gone to his room to get something, came back and began to tell us the story. First of all, look at this. Tom then laid out several photographs on the table. In them were David's wife and a man dressed in a fancy outfit. To put it bluntly, they were pictures of the scene of David's wife having a love affair. David looked at it and started shouting, "This is fake!" David's wife was trembling as if she did not know what to do. "She's going to be my sister-in-law, so I did some research beforehand. Then I found all this evidence. With this much evidence, there's no way you can get away with it, right?" Hearing Tom's words, David's wife put her head down. "I'm sorry." David, who could not believe the situation, was simply stunned. This is what happens when you don't focus on the inside of a person. No one can be perfect. Tom laughed, and we couldn't help but giggle. David fell to his knees in despair. The only sound in the room was David's wife apologizing to him earnestly. In the end, David and his wife got divorced. David isn't kind enough to forgive cheating. His wife was in panic when she was asked to pay alimony, but she was able to manage it with her parents' money. However, this was not enough to heal David's wounds. David quit his job due to the shock of the divorce. Since then, David has been shutting himself away in his room, and the only time we see him is when he comes out to get his meals. However, when Tom was there, he would screech a little and run away. It seems that since that time, he is scared of Tom. The family had discussed many times what to do with David. In the end, everyone agreed to end relationship with David in the near future. I am sure that would be a terrible thing for us to do to David. However, we were not kind enough to forgive him for the selfishness he has shown us. A few months later, David was kicked out from the house. Toward the end, he cried out to forgive him. But to be honest, I no longer recognized him as family, so I think this was a natural consequence. The three of us, on the other hand, are now living a carefree life with no one in our way. My husband has retired, but we are still able to live without any financial difficulties thanks to Tom's work. At least until the end of my life, I would like to make sure Tom has a good family. Tom is getting married soon. His fiancée is an employee of the same company, and they have been dating for several years. I am looking forward to the wedding of my precious son.